Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Remember, all you need to do if you're watching the show is to hit that like button. Please help me grow my numbers, whether you're watching this simulcast on Facebook or on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube in particular, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button and share this stream. Please, it's critically important that you do that. Visit us, please, at our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can also pledge some support. Hey, help me advance the liberty message across communities in this country. Contribute 100 Rand a month, and you can find, of course, a payment method that suits you. Super appreciate those of you who are part of the BDL club, which will formalize soon enough. Now, enough with that jibber jabber. How about we get straight into the news? All right, we begin here this morning at the Pretoria High Court, the Democratic Alliance, of course, challenging the ANC in court, rightly so, challenging the toxic policy of CADRE deployment. What is CADRE deployment, you're probably wondering? Well, let's take a few steps back and remind you that the ANC is a leftist commie organization. Its roots, of course, have effectively the Leninist notion of a democratic centralism. It's this idea that he who controls society should do so via the state. And controlling the state means all ambits, all elements of the government should report to the party. So in other words, not only should politicians decide, as is what they should, the office of a minister, for example, or political appointments, that's minister, deputy minister, a head of ministry, and people within the office of a ministry. Oh no. The policy of CADRE deployment also basically sees the ANC move beyond that office and actually also poison the professional public service by having ANC people or any other party, I suppose, if it were in charge and had the same ideology, poison the public service by deploying its own people into those positions. So what you have happen and have developed is that public, professional, civil service positions in government, which are meant to deliver the services, don't do so. And why? Because in most cases, people are not appointed to those positions. They're deployed on the basis not of their competence, skills, knowledge, and abilities, but rather on the basis of their political clout. What position do they hold in the party? And if you're deploying people into government positions because of their political clout and political position, then those people are not loyal to the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and the people of South Africa. Instead, they're loyal to the party, the political party that put them in that position.
I said I would rather be seen as the weak president than to split the ANC, because that is not my mission. My mission is to keep the ANC united.
That is exactly why service delivery has ground to the halt. The policy of CADRE deployment is an offshoot of the strategy of the ANC, that Leninist communist strategy of the National Democratic Revolution. That's the party policy, or the strategy rather, which sees the ANC purposefully trying to capture the state. So whenever you are dribbled in the media and you were told, oh no, they said, state capture is because of the Guptas and the Zuma years of the 9 wasted years, absolute nonsense. State capture is the very strategy of the ANC. It is in their DNA, it is in their founding documents, it is in their very strategy of the National Democratic Revolution, of which CADRE deployment is the chief policy. It does that. So don't be dribbled when you're told not to focus and see the ANC for what it really is. A Leninist commie organization, even though it's filled with inherent contradictions on its own in that regard, but effectively a party that tries to control the state, and by controlling the state, control you and society. That is what the DA is effectively challenging in court via its challenge of the CADRE deployment policy, to which AfriForum joined in on that court application as a amicus curiae, or a friend of the court. Now the story, the high drama playing itself out in the Pretoria High Court, with the DA having already made made its arguments, and the ANC now responding. Let me read from this EWN piece, which effectively detailed what happened on court. Now, as I mentioned, the court on Monday also heard opposing arguments from the ANC, its deployment committee, and its deputy president who chairs the committee. Now, on Tuesday, that's today, its president, Cyril Ramaphosa, will have his turn because during Monday's proceedings, questions were raised about where it would leave those appointments already made under the policy of CADRE deployment if the DA were successful. Speaking on the sidelines, of course, on Monday's proceedings, DA leader John Steenhuisen said that while they had successfully challenged some appointments in the past, such as that of Uhlaudi Motsoeneng. Yes, that idiot who used to head up the SABC, gosh, we've been through a lot in this country, but anyway, and would be looking to challenge others. The case was not about settling scores. That's according to John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen, of course, is further quoted as having said, what we will be doing is looking at some of the more egregious cases and looking at how we challenge them. Our goal in this case is not to settle scores or politics, it's to start the transition in South Africa towards building a professional civil service that's going to serve the people of South Africa and build a capable state. End of quote. Now, that last line is critically important because it makes the point I made earlier, which is if you have a political party that holds the same ideology as the ANC does, as the EFF does, as many other leftist formations do, of effectively controlling society by usurping or controlling the state, and by extension deploying cadres, trusted, loyal cadres into positions that are meant to be apolitical and are meant to be professional in the civil service, then those individuals are loyal to the party and not to South Africa. You cannot build a functional, prosperous democracy when you have party political tentacles in those levels of the state, especially when the state is as big and as bulky and as influential as it is. Which brings me back to my ideology, which is shrink the damn size of government. Make government as small as possible and as irrelevant as possible. The smaller and less power the government has, the more power and more resources you, the individual, and really I talk a lot about the individual, but really we're a family society, so the more power you and your families will have. That's the ideology I'm pushing, and indeed that is how you avoid this whole drama in the first place. Ah yes, the true cost of load shedding rears its head again. Watch this. Yep, that's exactly what you're watching. A farmer, and indeed a farming operation, having to dump effectively spoiled milk because of its equipment failing that keeps it fresh and indeed makes it drinkable for the public. And why is their equipment failing? Oh no, it's not because of the incompetence of farmers who are not incompetent. These are individuals who, as agri-entrepreneurs, know exactly what they're doing, but instead it's because of the state, Eskom, failing them with load shedding and indeed now causing damage to their equipment due to low voltage and erratic electricity supply, costing this particular farm nearly 12,000 litres of milk. Now, the particular farmer who's quoted in a News 24 piece, a Ross Stratford, had this to say. Now, Stratford, who's a director of Stratford Farms in Mooirivier, said on Monday that issues with low voltage ultimately cost the farm 11,800 litres of milk, which is a day's production. But this was just part of a constant battle with load shedding that has driven up costs and is burning out farm equipment. He's quoted as having said, "We're fighting this thing day and night. We feel like we're in a constant grind against Eskom," he says. And he's absolutely correct. Farmers in this country should be battling real market-related things, like maybe competition from other farmers or competition from the international community. But no, instead, they're battling the very people who they shouldn't be battling. They're battling the very people who should be protecting their property rights, i.e. government. But instead, we have a government in this country who insists on bad policy, and one of those bad policies is maintaining Eskom as a single sole provider of electricity and by extension, a single point of failure. That single point of failure has a real day cost on the everyday life of entrepreneurs in this country and you, the ordinary faith, flag, family, and freedom type citizen. Because if you're not receiving milk, then what else are you not receiving from our hardworking farming community? What other produce is now perhaps going to be in shortage in this country, to which you'll also see prices of which go up? Who is most affected by that? It isn't the politicians. It isn't the safely ensconced political elites in this country who are safely behind the bodyguards which we pay for via our tax money, or the generators and the diesel that they enjoy, again, at our expense as taxpayers. They're not the ones who suffer because of their bad decisions. You do. Our farmers do. Our produce does. This is the real cost of load shedding, and I've shared with you before as to how we get out of this mess. Now, watching visuals like that of milk being dumped, which, by the way, that's just one farming operation. There are many others who are experiencing the same thing. Farmers in the Northern Cape already mentioning that they might not be able to meet demand simply because the irrigation needs of theirs, pumping water into their fields, which needs electricity, is simply not happening because of load shedding. We're facing potential shortages. And we're going to have this conversation with, of course, agricultural economist Uwandile Sihlobo on the Friday edition of the BDL show. There's the thumbnail there. Look forward to that, because he'll talk to us about the impact of bad policy, whether it's expropriation of without compensation or load shedding, yada, yada, yada. He'll talk to us about what impact that is having on agriculture. We cannot continue like this. All right, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo. Hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment, like, and share the content, especially if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube in particular, then do me an even bigger favor. Subscribe to the channel. Join the over 38,200 of you. Thank you so much. That's 800 of you who've joined as subscribers since the beginning of January. Thank you so much for that. But join the already nearly 38,000 of you who are watching, and help me reach my goal of 50,000 by the end of the year. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Vuka Nazo.